As temperatures are coming down, energy bills are shooting up. Ofgem's energy price cap has risen for the winter, with consumers now facing a £150 yearly increase on average. And for many already struggling to keep on top of their costs, this won't come as welcome news. So, what is causing the price rises and what can we do to save money? I'm Lucrezia Millarini and this is what you need to know. Hello and welcome to today's episode of What You Need to Know, and I'm joined by ITV News consumer editor Choi. Hi Chris. Listen, we know the energy price cap is going up, but what does it actually mean for many households? Bad news, and at a bad time, of course. Yeah. It seems to be following this rhythm that when the temperature goes down, the bills go up, and this is going to affect 27 million people. Some people I've got kind of so confused by the ups and downs of the energy market. They wonder whether they are on this price cap. Essentially, if you haven't fixed, and if you're on what's called a default tariff, you are one of the people who will now see bills going up by 10%. If you want to know how it's going to affect you, just add 10% onto what you're paying now. It tends to be calculated across the board according to averages. So we are essentially moving from an average annual dual fuel bill, that is for gas and electricity, of typically £1,568 to £1,717. And what's making it worse, of course, you've kind of hinted at it already, is things are grim anyway, not only because of the cost of living crisis. We don't need to go into much detail on that because everybody's living through it, but also this new factor in the equation of so many pensioners now about to lose those winter fuel payments. You know, you look at different figures on that, but anywhere up to around 9.3 million older people now looking at these bills going up, dreaded at any time, but more so when the cold weather snaps in and when you've got this other bit of bad news to do with your personal finances because those payments aren't going to be there. Yeah, as you say, for a lot of people, it's going to be a really difficult time, isn't it? But the price cap, now, if I'm right, it moves every 3 months. Correct. Now, this upward swing, it's just come into force now in October. But what is behind the price rise exactly? Wow, I mean, almost anything. It's just crazy. As you say, it happens every 3 months. And I think there's good and there's bad to that rather dismal rhythm that these things have. I think the good news is it does get us talking about energy prices on a regular basis, which perhaps we didn't used to do before the price cap. The whole thing is intended to ensure that the energy companies only make reasonable profits. Why is it going up? You know, if you sneeze somewhere in the global economy, our energy prices seems to go up. It doesn't take much to ruffle things. So I've read versions of events ranging from slightly drier climate in Brazil this year, which has had an effect on hydroelectric generation, all the way through to what is much more of a standard reason, which is Russia sending less gas to Europe because of everything that's going on there. We know about the escalation that's going on in the Middle East. It all adds up to the kind of picture that the oil market responds badly to. And when the energy market is responding badly, it's we customers that pay, unfortunately. Yeah, there's huge global factors. Everything seems to be interconnected and end way beyond our control as well, in many respects. But some little bits and pieces are under our control, which I hope we'll come to. We will do. I want to ask you though, first of all, one thing, yes, because you always hear when we talk about the price cap and energy prices, we talk about switching energy suppliers, don't we? Is it a good time? Can people do it? Should customers be doing that, or have we missed the boat? I think it's always a good way to consider it. And a lot of people have assumed that there's no point looking anymore. Because do you remember the days where switching used to be like a national pastime? Yeah. It was talked about as often as we talk about the weather itself. You know, if you're in a pub, if you're at a dinner party, people would be kind of swapping tips on switching. When the energy crisis kicked in, when we had that invasion of Ukraine, 2 years ago, most of the best deals just almost overnight, bang, disappeared from the market. So there wasn't a lot to switch to. Then we went through the dark days of incredibly high prices and everybody's protected by the energy price guarantee. Things are now stabilising more. And here's the good news. That we learned of around 10 deals that you could go to now and save money when you're doing a comparison with these new price cap costs. So there are deals out there. You'd have to go to one of the price comparison sites. There are all kinds of them out there. Some you can put your details in and they'll update you if they find you a deal that comes along, even if you're not there staring at the monitor the whole time. A couple of golden rules I'd like to chip in. First of all, what you should really be trying to do is obviously find a deal that is lower than you'd be paying under the price cap. You don't want to be fixing them for too long because, as we've already described, the market is very volatile. It goes up and down. If you fix for too long, you can get stuck. And that's the third thing. Make sure there aren't really heavy exit fees, because the nightmare scenarios, you fix now and then actually the price cap goes down, which it is predicted to do a little bit towards the end of 2025. So it is a really difficult thing, and it requires a little bit of crystal ball gazing, because you've got to try and work out where the market's going. Luckily, there is information out there on that, and if you do your research, you should be okay. But I think the time is right for our old national pastime of energy switching, fixing, swapping to burst back into life.
Chris, you spoke to Cara Gamble, a personal finance expert. Now, she gave you a few tips on energy saving. Let's hear from her.
An easy way to reduce the amount of time that your clothes take to dry is to throw in a clean, dry towel with the load. And research has shown that this can actually reduce the time it takes to dry your clothes by as much as a half an hour.
Well, good old Cara. I mean, I had no idea of that.
Right.
And it's become my tip of the week, and I've been telling anybody that stands still in one place long enough.
Absorbs the water, right? I'm guessing.
It absorbs the water, and yeah, it's a good tip. I actually tried it last night, but it's quite difficult to work out whether it's worked. But I'm convinced that Cara's right. So just repeat that, because I think it is something that most people don't know about. You just get yourself a clean, dry towel, and you put that in to the tumble dryer. Really, your tumble dryer is one of the enemies when it comes to your energy bill, obviously, because it's one of those things like the kettle that absolutely takes an awful lot. And that's why really what you're going to do longer term is pick the appliances with the better energy use ratings, those environmental labels you'll see on products. Don't do what I do. Choose your appliances because they happen to be the same colour as your kitchen worktop.
Nice.
That's not at all the thing to be doing. But obviously, it's not a tip that's got an immediate appeal, because you will save a lot more money if you invest in those kind of appliances. But obviously, there's a big outlay. Now, look what I brought in. For people who are enjoying the podcast visually as well as in audio terms, they'll be able to see this, which is rather a jaunty colour. It's a jacket, pleated, not for me, but for a hot water cylinder.
Oh.
I had no idea they came in colours like this.
No,
It's lovely, isn't it? You can imagine Shirley Bassey in that, couldn't you? It's beautiful.
With some fur and some sequins.
I think so, yeah. So now the good thing about this is it cost me just over 20 quid.
Yeah.
It saves over £30 a year. So it pays for itself in the first winter. So there are little things like this, insulating your water tank, that are just, they're a no-brainer. Just get them done, because you'll save money almost instantly. Same with drafts and things around your windows. If you sort them out, even doing it yourself, you'll be saving £35, £40 from your bill a year. So those basic things like that you can do.
It all adds up, doesn't it?
It really does, and I think we've got to be incredibly vigilant. I mean, I don't know about you. If I get any scintilla of a draft coming from everywhere in the house, now I'm immediately onto it because of the cost aspect of the whole thing, let alone the comfort. And on top of that, you've got to say it's not only for you and your bill, there's also the whole environmental thing. Of course. A lot of people are wanting to lower their bills just because they don't want their carbon footprint to be large.
Very quickly before we come to our last question, and just saying with little tips, I am a fan of putting my wash on overnight and the dishwasher on overnight. Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing, and you can make it more a thing.
Okay.
Because there are all kinds of special tariffs that you can get that will make it much cheaper for doing what you want to do off-peak. And there are certain energy companies now that are really specialising in that, and it's one of the big things that is driving smart meters, because if you've got a smart meter, it makes it easier for you to get one of those tariffs where you get much cheaper electricity off-peak.
Okay. But to wrap up a little bit like your cylinders there, we are in the beginning of October. We're heading into the long, long winter months because they do seem to go on for quite some time, don't they? What is the outlook for the rest of winter when it comes to energy prices?
I think it's a really key question because it's the question that people will be thinking through as they consider whether or not to switch. Because what do you switch to? Because remember, these price caps only go in 3 monthly dollops. So what can we expect, for example, in January? If it's going to go down, then you don't want to be necessarily switching away from the price cap. But no, the very latest predictions are that the price cap will go up again, just a little bit, and then come down a bit in April to about 1,700 and hover around that for 2025. I mean, these figures that we're throwing out, let's just remember they cause mayhem and misery in so many households. We've already got 5 million people living in homes that are in energy debt. Many people predict this round of price increases could increase that by up to 3 million. So these are horrible, terrifying bits of arithmetic for many people's budgets. And also worth bearing in mind that these prices that we're going to be paying this winter are going on for almost double what we were paying before the energy crisis. So overall, we really have all got a lot poorer thanks to what these energy prices are doing to us. But there are little things you can do. We've discussed a few here, the switching, the fixing, the trying to use less energy. We've just got to do what we can, haven't we?
Yeah.
And be positive about the thing, or as positive as it's possible to be.
Yeah, as positive as it can be, Chris. But like you say, it's going to be a tough time for a lot of people. All right, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. For more on this, head over to our website and have a look back through our other quick briefings on a range of headline topics to find out what you need to know. Until the next time, thank you.